so just to kind of put some definitions out there, just because these three terms are quite similar, and for a lot of people they kind of are interchangeable, but they do have distinct different meanings. So the climate crisis is a term that we use to describe global warming and climate change, and also the impacts of that as well. So the term and the alternative term climate emergency have more recently been used to describe the threat of global warming to humanity, and also to urge aggressive climate change mitigation. So things like activism and the rise of community movements has been a big part of that. Also, global warming is the more scientific term. So we've got global warming as an unusually rapid increase in Earth's average surface temperature, and over the past century it's been particularly prominent. And it's primarily due to the greenhouse gases released by people burning fossil fuels. And climate change, similar but different, is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional and global climates. So these changes have a broad range of observed effects that are synonymous with the term. So this is just a quick diagram to kind of show the change that we've seen. So this is from 1980 to 2019. So this is showing different changes in different events based on Met Office research and statistics. So it shows a very clear rise in different cases of things like geophysical events. So we're looking at earthquakes and tsunamis, but also climatological events such as extreme temperature changes and droughts, which are definitely a big issue at the moment. And seeing it doesn't go to 2019, we can even see in recent years sort of wildfires in Australia, places that we've seen on the news, and that's still an increasing problem that's definitely on the rise in recent years. So a big thing about sustainability, which is a big discussion within all these kind of movements and discussions that people have in different platforms, is who is actually responsible for the climate crisis, because responsibility is kind of passed around in different ways, and for some people it's kind of individual responsibility, but for other people it's kind of focusing on corporations. So individual changes do have benefits. That is definitely statistically proven that they do have the benefit of saving energy and resources, which can be therefore leading to emitting less carbon, and the impact may be small, but it is something that does add up if more people do change in that way. And also telling companies that customers are interested in being green does help influence business decisions, and that can create corporation level change. But also inspiring other people around you to do the same can help normalise these actions and multiply the effect if you do encourage people that are close to you to change in those ways. And it can also just make you feel good by knowing you are doing something to combat a really big scale issue. However, on to the next slide, the big thing that's to kind of discuss is that it shouldn't just be up to us to make the change. So even though individual level changes can make a big difference, there's not enough of an impact and influence on the fact that institutional level change is what we really need to be fighting for. So change needs to be encouraged on that level, because climate change is a global scale problem that can't be solved by an individual level change necessarily. Even though if we all kind of started to have more of those positive influences and started to kind of encourage people to think about climate change and all those sort of things, then it would definitely be very beneficial. But it is a systemic global issue that needs collective action by multiple institutions to tackle it. And also this diagram is a big way of showing that the richest 10% are responsible for 49% of emissions, and that is clearly showing a massive trend between the poorest 50%, who are responsible for between 1% to 3% of those emissions. So there's a very, very big difference between those two. And obviously we all have choices, but what is possible and what is actually convenient is also dictated by companies, governments and other institutions. So that is the general driver for how everything works in society. So corporation and institutional level change is incredibly important. So going on to the institutional level change, but more on from what we can do at the university to make changes. So a lot of things that we do run in the university can be really beneficial. So things like carbon literacy training is run by the social impact team here at the university. So you can be trained to deliver it to schools as well. And this is kind of creating an awareness of sustainability you can carry through to businesses. It's a great thing to put on your CV. And it's a good way to kind of learn about what you can do to make a difference, but also the general broad terms of sustainability, but also taking a little bit more time to look into it than what we're doing today. And also, if you're a course rep, you can also talk about how you can make sustainable changes in your course, or you can encourage your course reps to do that sort of thing as well. Also, we do have a lot of environmental-based societies here, so things like Planet Change Society, which some of us are here today, and that's what I'm part of. And we do a lot of sustainability-related campaigns, and we do a lot of things like litter picks in the university, so we kind of encourage people to create small-scale changes for a wider-scale impact and to spread the word about why sustainability is a really important thing. And also, if you're part of any student group or sport, you can come along to our Green Bubble meetings, which happen generally every month or so, every 2 weeks to a month, and you can come along to them and you can pitch any ideas you might have about ways you want to be more sustainable, or we can help you to create more sustainable initiatives for your society. Even if you're a sports society and you just want to make things more sustainable for your sports society, then we're very happy to help you with that as well. You can also submit a seed project, and that's the way you can get funding to run a sustainability idea. That's a really good way to sort of promote an idea. If you have something in your head that you want to happen within the university but you don't have the funding for it, or it needs funding, then we can help support you with that. And also setting up a campaign or idea with the SU idea system on their website. So there's lots of ways that we can kind of encourage change, and people can actually put that forward to us at the university. So some ideas for different societies and sports that people have kind of pitched to us, but also ideas that we've thought of as well. So if you're a member of a cultural or international society, it could be really beneficial to run sessions that are based maybe in the language of the country that you're from, or the country that kind of the society is based on, and that can sort of encourage international students to understand the practices of what we have here in the UK and also worldwide as well about sustainability, so they can kind of get that knowledge and make it more accessible to them, because it's not necessarily always accessible to everyone here. So to make it more accessible is really, really important, and accessibility is a really big part of sustainability work, so that's a really important thing to do. Also, as you mentioned before about sports societies, so a couple of people from sports societies have mentioned about collaborating to do litter picks to conserve nature areas around pitches and courts and places that people use for their sports, and that can be really, really important, especially in areas like canals where a lot of litter can end up being put there as well. And also finding a way of using old equipment or repairing it to still be used can also be really beneficial as well. Also, if you do any other societies, all kind of things you can do, whether you're doing a film screening, so you can do a documentary screening and people can learn more about environmental topics. Also, if you do a lot of socials, then you could do clothes, also fancy dress, and that's kind of a way to exchange different things between people and kind of create a circular fashion economy, which is another really big sustainability issue. Or you can also do fundraising events or campaigns to relevant issues, so gathering donations for a local cause, such as a food bank, a homeless charity or women's shelter, and these are all really important issues to tackle locally. So going quickly into little things that you can do in your daily life that are just going to kind of encourage these sort of sustainability attitudes and also encourage them with other people around you as well. So things like using a bike to go to uni rather than driving, very sort of easy, simple things to think about, but they are really beneficial and that can really be helpful. But also, the energy sector is the biggest contributor to global greenhouse gas emissions, so it's a really important thing to kind of think about how the way that you use your energy is impacting a wider issue as well. So switching energy provider to a 100% renewable provider can be a really beneficial thing to do, but also even little things like using a drying rack instead of a tumble dryer, which can be difficult this time of year, but it's little things like that that can be really beneficial. And also a lot of food waste is a big issue in terms of sustainability, so 40% of food grown globally is wasted, so that's a lot of waste and a lot of issues created by that, and also a lot of people who don't have access to that food, so it creates a real global problem. So there's a lot of things that we can do to try and help that, so sort of eating locally to support the local economy, to going to local restaurants, going to local shops that provide local produce, such as markets. That can be a really beneficial way to support local economies and kind of not contributing to wider issues with food, but also fresh goods locally sourced. And also we have the community kitchen here at the university, so that's a good way to kind of get involved with local projects that they're in the university, and we kind of help to provide things for people in the local area, which is really important. Other little things as well, so if you are doing a dissertation, then at some point in your degree, then you can maybe do it on a sustainable related topic. So if you want to do sort of learn more about sustainability or promote a topic that's really of interest to you and could really benefit your course and the knowledge in your course, it could be really, really beneficial to do that. But also, in terms of purchasing and consumption, fast fashion is responsible for 10% of global carbon emissions annually. So that is a really big issue. And a lot of the time, a lot of people don't think too much about purchasing, and it's kind of a very rash decision that happens very quickly, but also the whole age of fast fashion is very kind of consumption heavy and can cause many, many issues. So it's always good to think about things like buying second hand, which can be really fun as well, and giving second life to clothes or donating things you no longer use to create a circular economy, which is basically where, rather than using things once and just distributing them somewhere else where they're normally dumped and wasted, kind of giving them to someone else, so it kind of goes back round and everyone can get what they need access to. And also, other things as well, sort of reducing waste in terms of things like society. So if you're doing like sort of freshers events, kind of thinking about things you're giving out, like the freebies you're using, the paper you're distributing, that kind of thing. And then also how you could maybe do environmental focused things at your society events, for example, how you can protect the environment, make sure that you're making that environmental awareness known, which is really, really important. In terms of the university itself, so as an institution, there's been a lot of things going on recently within the university, and there's been a lot of really, really important and very substantial change. So the university has been doing a lot of work of lowering carbon footprint and also directly divesting from fossil fuels, which was a campaign started by students. That's a really important thing. A lot of students have been doing that in different universities and trying to encourage the university to make that action. And also our teaching, because teaching is education teaching is a really, really important part of sustainability, and how we can make education accessible to everyone, but also how we can promote people to learn more about sustainability so it can travel and it can become a bigger thing. So we scored 99% for education in a green league table, which is an amazing result, and 100% of our undergraduate courses have teaching aligned to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So somewhere in every single course that we teach, we are focusing on the global goals for sustainable development, which is really important because they are literally the focus of how the world will hopefully become a better place as we keep working more towards that. So because it's kind of it can be quite a sad topic sometimes to talk about sustainability, because it is a difficult thing and there's a lot of bad things going on in the world sometimes, but it's also really important to focus on the positives. So a lot of things have been happening recently that are really positive to think about, such as the fact that Costa Rican forests have doubled in size since 1990, and also more people are employed in clean energy than the fossil fuel industry as of currently. So that's really, really big steps that have been taken recently. And also Scotland getting 97% of energy from renewables is also a really big thing as well. So all these big changes are really substantial and are making a massive difference, and that's a really positive way to look at how the little things that we're doing and the little changes we can make are going to contribute to a big difference. So it's a really important thing. As a side point to that as well, with the whole sort of things being a little bit negative, sometimes it's also really important to look after well-being. So there's a lot of sort of recommendations for that. So you can sort of follow different accounts, things like the Happy Broadcast, always do really lovely little posts where you can sort of talk about, they always talk about different like nice, positive environmental messages, but also even social related things that are happening as well. So a lot of things that kind of make you feel a little bit more positive about the world and the situation in the world at the moment. So that's a really good thing to do, but also finding a community to connect with. So in university, like I said, we have a lot of sustainability related societies, but also groups that are really interested in that sort of topic. So if you are also interested in it as well, and you want to join a community that also want to make a difference, that can be really beneficial for you to find those people and kind of have that avenue where you can explore that and make a difference and promote that to other people, and it can really make you feel like you're making a difference, because it's a tough thing on your own. So it's nice to be able to have other people to do that with as well. And very important to rest, because the world is not on your shoulders even. It might feel like it is, but that's also the importance of having a community to connect with as well. And then also, there's a lot of really important, really big differences and big changes that have been happening recently in terms of big companies and big organisations promoting really important issues and really important things, such as through documentaries, but also prizes. So the Earthshot Prize is a way for people to kind of promote and congratulate people for sustainability-related initiatives, but also the global growth of renewable energy output is also a really positive thing, and also increases in ethical investment responsibility by some of the world's biggest financial institutions. So there's so many different things that are happening at the moment that we don't necessarily see, because they don't always come up in the news, or they don't always come up in obvious ways to us, but they're really important things to look into and to see that there is a lot of really important change going on, and there is a lot of difference being made. Okay, so now it's over to you guys, and me as well, but it's over to you guys to try and sort of help promote ideas as well. So either or, there's two different things. So I've got pens and paper, and for any of you guys here today, if you have either a sustainable goal that you want to personally try to implement in your life based on something that I might have said or something that you might have already had in your mind that you want to change, or any hopes you have for the future and how the world could be a better place for the planet and the people on it, if anyone has any suggestions for either of those, then please feel free to shout out.
Should we distribute some paper?
Yes, I think that sounds good, yeah. We came up with things like refillable things for washing stuff. So for example, if you're washing dishes, if you've got like body wash, shampoo, that kind of thing, all those kind of refillables are quite good to have as well. And there's a lot more access to those now at the moment. Shops like Nada, Zero Waste shops, they kind of have those sort of things in there. Also, we mentioned earlier things like using a bike, using a drying line rather than a tumble dryer, and also local vegetables and fruits. We also did look at sort of future goals that we might have, kind of things that we sort of thought would be really good in the future. So things like climate change tax on corporations. So for example, every time a corporation creates a large amount of emissions or goes over a certain rate of emissions or environmental degradation, then we could sort of tax them on it, so that it would be an easy way to kind of keep track of what they're doing, but also hold them accountable for it as well. And also things like electric buses, so that being more of a thing as well, but also trams also being really good because they're better than the current system of buses because they are powered electrically, and also making transport more accessible for people as well in general. So things like trains and sort of public transport are a really good form of getting around places, but they're also not always accessible to people because they can be quite expensive. And then also we spoke about sustainable tourism, so things like respecting local environments, but also hotels in certain countries, especially countries in the developing world, and their position within the local economy. So we speak about those things. And then also over here we've got some other suggestions as well. So taking less car trips, walking and not driving, actively recycling, and creating meal plans to lower food waste as well. And also thanks. And also buying products that are sustainably sourced as well. Giving stuff don't use to charity is also really important as well. I spoke about circular economy a bit earlier. Also donating more to food banks and charities just help with refuge. That's also really good. There's a lot of food related things here which are really, really good. And society is doing events where you can recycle, reuse and give items. So yes, society is doing things like food banks, food drives, that kind of thing. That can be really good as well. So that's, yeah, a lot of food related things there, but they're all really important things and things that I think are also quite manageable to do. They're quite easy things to do. And I think especially as a student, meal planning can also be really good, saving money as well. So yeah, they're really good suggestions. They're good suggestions, guys. And then the other group as well said, all right, what have we got here? So we've got working for climate aware companies, that's a good one. So sort of being very, I guess it's difficult because kind of being selective of where you work, obviously in the current job market can be quite difficult, but also definitely if you are sort of looking for jobs in certain sectors, like looking at what their kind of environmental work is. But even if you work for the company, you can also promote sustainable related practices in that job as well. And also saving for an electric car, that's a good one. Going to Leicester market and asking for local products, that's also good. Donating all the clothes to charity. So a lot of clothes and food related things. But I feel like as students, that's quite common things that come up is people sort of their clothes and consumption habits, but also their food as well, and that kind of thing's quite big things. Stop eating, out the way, so stop eating from fancy chain restaurants. But yeah, it's also a good one as well, I like that too. And then walking more and avoiding using car, taking trains, using bike. We do, yeah, it's a good one actually. They mentioned Santander bikes, so we actually do have those on campus, and they're sort of a way you can sort of basically rent them for a little bit of time. You can get to places you need to go to. There normally are like drop-off points in different parts, and they're also in other cities as well. So that's also a really good way of getting around. So those are really, really good suggestions. Those are really good. I'm glad everyone had really good ideas, and they're really great suggestions for things as well. So that was very good. Well done, everyone. And that's everything. So thank you to everyone for coming. And yeah, and just last final point. So mentioned before, looking out for details on green bubble meetings. So those are really good ways to get involved with the university and sustainability. Also contact Planet Change. So I do the social media for Planet Change. So if anyone needs to get in touch about anything, then you're very welcome to. And I can help answer any questions you might have or any concerns you might have. And then also finally, the social impact team can be found on Instagram or over email. And they can also help you with things like carbon literacy training and also information about that. And also they have general environmental focused things they're always doing. So they're always also good to follow as well, so you can see what's happening in the university. But yeah, that's everything from me. Thank you guys.